Good afternoon, all. Thank you for those of you who have been able to join us this afternoon. It's a great opportunity and I'm very excited to have Russell Precious and Jamie Lee with us today. For those of you who don't know, my name is David Fenter, and I'm the head of school at Milpark Education School of Financial Services. Over the years, Russell and I have had we've had a few chats over the years about some of his internship programs, which he runs with ASISA. And we thought it'd be a great opportunity to make today's opportunity available to all of our students who have previously not been employed, as these are the internships that we are discussing today. So we thought it'd be great to invite Russell to tell us a bit more to you as our graduates and or current students. So Russell, I just want to welcome you, and I'll hand over to you.
Thank you very much, David, and thank you to Milpark for the opportunity of chatting to you guys about this very successful and exciting initiative that we have. Just very quickly, I'd like to position ASISA. ASISA is the industry body for the savings and investments industry. In other words, all the unit trust companies, all the investment companies, the life companies. So savings in terms of the life assurance type space and investment management space in the country, and obviously life companies. And we're the business school for that industry. In other words, they send their staff along to us for courses that we run. Quite a few years ago, we were running this program for 9 years. Alan Gray, Coronation, 91, and what used to be called Prudential, now called M&G, put some money into a pool, and they've made funds available to try and develop the nature of investment advisors. So traditionally, investment advisors have always been part of life companies, but predominantly the life companies have got sales forces where independent advisors are not part of companies. So we're wanting to change and develop this market quite a bit. And I'm very chuffed that we have Precious and Jamie Lee with us. Precious has been on this internship in the past. She did it 4 years ago. And Jamie Lee at the same practice. They're based in Durbanville. She's currently an intern at RF Advice. So it's a nice opportunity to ask questions, not only of the one while the program works, but of current young ladies who are doing this initiative. So thanks again to Milpark for the opportunity. I'm going to upload my presentation. I'd like to encourage you all, please ask questions as we go along. And I think you'll find this pretty interesting, what we're going to be doing. Let me try and get this up and running. Okay, great. Cool. And I'm sure everybody can see the screen. It's chat about it. These are just a couple of pictures from last year. We run the program nationally in the major centers. We have the Cape Town crowd, and you'll see Jamie Lee in this picture as well. Jamie Lee, I'm looking for you. I don't see you here. Anyway, we got a Cape Town crowd, and we had a few folks from other parts of the country, the outlying areas, Durban, East London, Bloemfontein, joining us in Cape Town for the course. We run a 2-week intensive where we do a work readiness component. So all these guys, all these delegates have done their degrees and now moving into this program. Was that you, Jamie Lee? Okay. So I was going to go to the next slide. Yes. That's the whole group. The whole group, two combined. Okay, great. So I started the program in 2015. Next year will be a 10-year date for the program, and it keeps on growing. We started off with just the 2 areas, Cape Town and Johannesburg. And I ran their initial program in partnership with the University of Johannesburg, with their financial planning department, and did really well. So Cape Town, we rolled out the program as well, and we've now expanded to other cities. And we are chatting to all the universities and also the TVETs. Anybody who studied, done tertiary education and a qualification in QF5 and above to apply to take part in the partnership. We also approach financial planning practices and invite them to apply to host interns. And RF Advice is an example of that. In fact, they've been involved in virtually every year as well. So they have had a fantastic developmental team as well. In fact, they still got somebody from about 7 years ago. Keanu still at RF Advice, Precious? So he was part of the program 6 or 7 years ago. And in terms of the developing the program and the mentorship and internship, guys are offered the opportunity to be taken on permanently at the practice. So if we have a look at the next slide, I've mentioned that Alan Gray, Coro, 91, M&G put some monies together, and mentioned, I've said that a lot of more companies getting involved, and I found out that Incita are also offering to put in some money into this program, and companies like Astute are wanting to get involved as well. Now, Astute is one of the fintech companies in the industry, and virtually every single financial planning practice is going to use their system to an exposure as part of their developmental work. And I'll give an example of some of the things that happens in the course and in terms of developing the program. Is we would help transition everybody from being a student to becoming work ready. An example would be, for example, you would typically use Google or other messaging systems for your communication channel. In the working environment, we'd use Microsoft Outlook. And in Microsoft Outlook, we got the calendar environment, and every business would have a formalized calendar. So you'd be able to be involved and contribute to the working environments there as well. When this slide was done, I think last year, we had 221 interns to date. We have now exceeded 300. We have about 110 practices involved or hosting practices. We're in 5 provinces. We're expanding it to about 7 cities, including George. We have over 90% completion rate countrywide. In Cape Town, we're looking at over 90% take on, which is particularly good. So we have a really good success rate for this program and in the industry as well. Just to give you an idea of the process, we encourage all the delegates, all the candidates to apply, and you'll see an application button at the bottom of the screen. You apply to participate in the program. The companies that we've spoken to will host practices or will host interns are also being approached to apply. They would then interview, and if they've been approved, they would then interview delegates that they pull out of that application portal. And then the interview process starts. We're looking at possibly having 15 to 20 delegates in Cape Town. There's quite a bigger, much larger amount in Johannesburg, probably around about 25 candidates in Johannesburg, 25 seats as we put them. And we have quite a few in Durban, Bloem, PE, East London, and I'm hoping to have George part of that list as well. I am also talking to the outlying areas in the Greater Cape Town area. So Stellenbosch, Paarl, Malmesbury, and up the West Coast is also an option. So we do talk to a number of practices to host. With the course starts, we're looking at the course component. If you're selected, you'll be taken on by the practice as an employee for the 12-month period while the internship runs. But we'll start with the course component mid-January. We'll do it in Cape Town and in Johannesburg. And it is paid for. If you from a different area, we'll be putting up in accommodation and providing meals. We will work the 2-week course, providing the work readiness side of it. We will talk about how and why the industry works the way it does. Great theories and happening in the curricula at varsities. In terms of practicality, it changes slightly per industry as such. So we talk about how and why it works. We talk about some of the products, but a very important part of what we do is preparing you to work. We will have sessions on, for example, dealing with diversity. We have sessions on the importance of mental health. We talk about the ability to adapt. Everybody gets to present. You need to do, it's quite an intense course. We used to call it a boot camp. I'm told that scares everybody away, so we stay away from that too much. And I think Jamie Lee and Precious will be quite ready to talk about it being quite a lot of work. You will start work at the workplace the beginning of February, and will run through till the end of January next year. By the end of that term, you have 12 months of experience, and it'll look great in your CV. And an important part of what happens here is that you're in a position to be offered a job at that company. By December, you should actually know, probably late November, whether you're going to be kept on the following year. But what makes this really, really useful is that you're in a position to decide whether you're going to stay there or not. And also note, the company is not obliged to keep you at the practice. One of the important things we do chat about during that in a course initiative is that we all know what we'd like to do in terms of our careers. And one thing you'll find during your first year of work is what you don't want to do. And that's not a bad thing. But we encourage everybody to see through the 12 months. You will be required to get an RE5, which is part of the phase Act, and you'll be allowed to talk to clients. And anybody who works in financials will be required to do an RE5. So it does benefit you as well. You will be paid a stipend. In the past, in fact, this year, the stipend is 12,500 Rand. Next year, it'll go up slightly. The amount hasn't been finalized yet, but you'll get paid to work. And you are seen as full-time work, and you'll be paid accordingly. And just remember that the amount you see on paper is not the amount you're going to receive. You'll be required and expected to pay your taxes. So it'll be deducted from your salary. We've had some confusion in the past where interns started work and they're expecting the full amount they were shown on their agreement where they're going to work, and it's slightly less. You'll have to pay your PAYE, UIF. So we'd like to thank you for your contribution to the economy. It's a good start to start paying for the upkeep of our roads, our academics, education, and healthcare. So just to confirm that the current group are being paid 12.5. We are expecting it to be about 13,000 next year, but it'll still to be confirmed. As mentioned, you're in a position to be offered a job. You've got a foot in the door, and the nature of financial planning is you become actually very much part of understanding how and why people work. So companies generally know, and I'm already getting feedback from a large number of companies, and it's only August, who they're looking at keeping on next year already. So quite a few of the interns currently doing their year are busy doing a whole lot of different roles. They do various jobs in various companies, and not every single one is different. Every company's culture is different to each other. I've just been chatting to a financial planning practice in Claremont who works completely differently to another practice that's, for example, working in Belleville, as an example, or in other parts of Durbanville. They have different nuances, different clients, different manners in which they go about their business. And at each of the different practices, we have got quite a few guys who go on to become paraplanners. In the case of Precious, she is the client relationship manager at RF Advice. She's really done particularly well in her career, and it's lovely to see the successes of and opportunities that happen in this program. You are expected, as I mentioned, that you'll be a full-time employee for the 12 months. You'll have to adhere to the companies. Your contract is with the practice. You work according to their requirements. It is for a 12-month period, but there are some situations where they take the intern on a little bit earlier. Just as a matter of interest, we spoke about the stipend. Traditionally, and the manner in which we've structured the course, the practice pays for half of the stipend, the salary, and the program, the sponsors, pay for the other half. So it's quite a good deal for companies to be able to put skin in the game, and we think it's important, and then they invest it in that. They will mentor the interns as well. They'll make sure that they've got capacity to provide a proper working environment, proper equipment, and proper skill development as well. I do go around and I visit practices every now and then. That's part of my responsibility as a program champion to call on practices. My relationship develops with practices, and each intern has got a mentor, and they have continued mentoring throughout the year. During the course of the year, we also have a couple of workshops. I think it was last month, every intern came in and did a presentation of how the internship is going at the practice. The process of presentation skills is particularly important as well, and they get quite a lot of support from their practices. So it actually does add lots of value to both the personal development, the skills development, and the company development as well. We need to make sure that companies are able to host interns. I have a large number of companies currently applying to join the program, but I will not allow companies to join if they're not able to host interns professionally and constructively. And if they're not allowed to be part of the bigger, not be part of a life company. So anybody who, for example, is part of, as an example, a conglomerate like Old Mutual, Liberty, Momentum, Sanlam is not allowed. They've already got a sales force. These are for IFAs, for individual or independent financial planning practices. Some of the feedback we've got, and as again, welcome back, Jamie Lee. Jamie Lee is currently an intern at RF Advice, and we have Precious, who's been through the program in the last couple of years and developed her career really well at RF Advice. I'm going to open the floor. In fact, I'd like to ask Precious, if you don't mind, very quickly, your thoughts about the program. I'm wondering if I've got comments here from you. I can't see. I don't have names. You probably recognize it if it was there. Precious, your thoughts about the program.
Oh, thanks, Russell, for the opportunity. Afternoon, everyone. I hope you're all well. I have been, I was on the program in 2020 as an ASISA intern for RF Advice in Cape Town. And the experience was quite interesting for me because I happened to be part of the intern group that were in the COVID era. So when COVID kicked in, we actually started our internship, and we had to train at a time when everything moved offline and went moved from online to like offline, and things were just all over. But I must say, the support of the ASISA Academy came into great play here. So it was wonderful to have a team of program champions like Russell, as well as mentors, as ASISA assigns mentors to walk with you through the journey for the whole 12 months, who are at your disposal from cell phone to emailing. They even come to you to see you. I don't know how many times I had panic attacks as an intern, and my mentor would rush to my office just to see me. So it is a very supported program. It is a program where you learn a lot about the industry, and you grow if you're willing to grow. It also is dependent on the IFA that takes you on. But so far, even with the people who I was in the group with, we've all said great things about the IFA companies that took us on. I have been fortunate enough that by the time I completed my internship, I already knew that I'd be permanent, and I've grown in the company as from the information that I received at the beginning of my internship when we first had our work readiness program, because as Russell has mentioned, there is a work readiness program that takes you through the first 2 weeks before you even start working on what to expect. So by the time you get to the company, you kind of have a little bit of an idea of what the work life is about. But yeah, I've had great growth in my career. I've moved from being an intern to permanent consultant. I'm now a CRM, and I am currently studying my postgraduate diploma in financial planning with the University of Free State, which my company pays for, which I'm very grateful for. I also am aspiring to be a financial advisor, of which that role has already been assigned to me for next year. So I don't have a choice but to pass my exams, as well as being able to just flourish in the industry. Till this day, I still have the support of the ASISA Academy. I have Russell at my disposal. I have the ASISA Academy CEO at my disposal. The whole team at ASISA Academy is part and parcel of my growth in my career. So joining the IFA internship program was a great push for me, because as a young Black child, there's not a lot of opportunities you find like this. So this has been quite a good thing for me. And I have recommended it to each and every person I see who is interested in the financial services industry and wants to grow in the financial services industry from the get go. So I'd really encourage each and every one of you to decide on taking this opportunity with both hands. And look, the money is great. Trust me. When you start working, you flourish. You think you will baller, but don't be like me and spend it all. But yeah, outside of that, it is a great opportunity for anyone interested in working in the financial services space. Thank you.
Thanks, Precious. I'd actually like to commend you now while you're done. So I lost. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
we can
I
hear
can.
you.
My signal dropped for whatever reason. I had to get back on again. We have had a few issues down the deep south in Cape Town, but I'm glad to be back. I see my picture's not there, which is not a loss. But Precious, thanks for that. I appreciate it, and I commend you now while you've done. It's absolutely fantastic what you've done there. And I'd like to actually propose that in future, when you guys do your postgrad, that we look at Milpark as a venue, as an option, because they're also very well respected and acclaimed with regards to how well it's done. So I'll make a point, David, of putting Milpark forward in future. Yeah, thanks again. And we've also got Jamie Lee, who's currently doing internship. So the course is still very fresh and doing a whole lot of jobs around the company. I've walked into Irish Vice a few times. I've seen Jamie sitting in the reception area with a beautiful smile. And I'm not too sure we're still sitting there most of the time, but you get to move around as part of internship. And one of the things I've had to do a lot as part of this program, and I do it for all graduate development programs, is manage expectations. We'd all like to think we get to go move into managerial role very quickly, but we do not get to put time into it. Jamie Lee, how's your internship going? Oh, we can't hear you, Jamie Lee.
Well, yeah, it does look like we can't. Her mic is on, but it looks like we can't hear her. Maybe Jamie can join Precious on her side. We're gonna do some quick juggling. I know Precious and Jamie are right near each other in the office. So now Jamie will be running across to the other side of the office to join Precious. So I'm sure she'll join us any second so she can give us her insights on how her journey's gone so far.
I'm busy trying to get out of the presentation as well.
Okay.
But
there we go.
Thank you so much, Russell. I was speaking there on my laptop, as it doesn't seem you heard me. Like I was saying, I'm Jamie Lee. I am currently an intern at Orif Advice. I started in January and I've been there for 8 months now, basically. It's been quite a ride. Getting to know the workplace, getting to know the team. I have an extremely helpful team that I have grown so much from. Basically, I think I've grown so much. My confidence has grown so much as an adult now that is basically working. And I have this amazing support, especially from ASISA, my mentor, Kim. And she always makes sure that I'm good. And whenever I have an issue arising, she would always make sure we address it. And I receive lovely messages from her. At the beginning of March, we had to attend a work readiness program at ASISA in which I met amazing young people, same like me. And I'm still in contact with some of them, but we all have grown so much. Even here at my company, we do a variety of things. So honestly, you learn so much. The industry is definitely fast paced, and when you enter this industry, you learn so much about yourself, the amount of pressure you take on, and you just basically you find yourself growing. And even Russell, we were at the work readiness program. Russell will take you out of your shell, and he will definitely grow your confidence, make you speak in front of everyone. But honestly, this is an amazing opportunity. I definitely advise everyone to apply, and you will not regret it. You will not regret applying for this opportunity, working, growing. Like Russell said, if it is not for you, you will figure that out as you go on. But it's an amazing industry. If you are interested in finance, if you're interested in investments, you basically figure that out for yourself. Yes, I have so much more to say.
Thank you. I'm having some difficulty getting my camera on. I don't know why it's showing as green on my next to my camera, so I don't know what's happening on the platform. But are there any questions from anybody out there? I'm not too sure with any of the attendees for this course.
Yeah, so they have. Yeah, so Russell, there has actually been a good question here from Dalton who's joined. Dalton's asking effectively, how would one can a practice working in a corporate brokerage? Can a practice working in a corporate brokerage apply? These are not tied to practices to a life product, but owned by a life company. Effectively, Dalton's asked earlier a little bit higher. How does one register as a practice to host interns for a year? That's really the question.
Okay, thanks for the question. Dalton, if you have a look at the website, there is an application form for both practices and a separate form for interns. If you have a look at the asisa.org.za website and you scroll and you get into the academy side, you have a look at graduate development programs. On the IFA internship program page, at the bottom of the page, there is a button to register practices. So it'll be great to see what opportunities there are for practices. The sponsors are quite keen to expand it quite a bit. So we are presently interviewing a number of practices applying. The window for application for both interns and practices closes next weekend. closed on the 31st. So we'd like to encourage everybody to get it done. It's very, very straightforward, and we're able to then communicate. So once the window is closed, we will be assessing and going through the qualifying criteria for practices, and then we'll have a look at the interns and have a look at the availability and the qualification. You need to be a South African resident or national, obviously South African, and you need to have not worked before, worked full time. If you've done VAC jobs, that's not an issue. Some companies have called them an internship, where you're just working for 3 weeks to launch a product. We don't consider that as a job. That's very much a temporary or a VAC job. So you haven't been employed. So we encourage all guys to keep on applying. And it's a great opportunity. We've seen the numbers in the last week of unemployment creeping up, and it's a concern. Large number of graduates coming out of the system, a large number of matric leavers and guys going to TVETs. We're struggling to find jobs. So we need to find opportunities, and this is a fantastic opportunity with a really good, constructive and intuitive development. And there are so many things in a financial planning practice or in the industry that one gets to do. We have had instances where, for example, someone has applied, they had a speech impediment. So the practice was never geared. We don't do this program to develop a sales force. We do this program to develop the person and the industry. And if the candidate's ready, then the practice will be able to develop that role later. We do not expect anybody to sell anything in the first year. If that's the situation, we disqualify the practice. We're not here to add the practice's client base. We do provide an opportunity for that to be developed after this internship is over. But it's a great opportunity to do different things in practices. So quite a few of the interns become paraplanners. Some go into the IT space or administration, back office space. Someone like Precious, for example, is the client experience specialist. And we don't only speak to guys who studied financial planning. We've had quite a few applicants and practices who have asked to have, for example, somebody who studied psychology, because financial planning isn't just about numbers. It's very much about life coaching at the end of the day. And that's the way it's leaning. The whole industry leans, is becoming life coaches. So guys that studied, for example, psychology is very, very useful for practice. So it was not limited to just financial planning. So yeah, we encourage everybody to apply, and you got to have your name in the ring, or your name in the hat, your hat in the ring. I get confused all the expressions out there. You got to be in there to get it to be selected.
Yeah, exactly. And I think if I can add to what you were saying, Russell, is if myself and a couple of colleagues were at the FPI Financial Planning Institute's convention last week, and I mean, like if you're looking at conservative numbers wise, I mean, there is a huge demand for financial planners. If you look just from that angle, conservatively around 4,000 additional financial planners are really needed within industry. That's the number that was being thrown out during the convention. So I mean, there is definitely demand in that space. But as you say, the wonderful thing about this opportunity is that it does open up opportunities potentially for someone for other areas, not necessarily just financial planning. It could be also, HR positions within a practice. As you say, if one has a psychology background or organizational psychology background, that could also potentially be a winner. So that's the wonderful kind of opportunity that is available.
Yeah, it's actually incredible. This becomes a very focused type of opportunity. You've been taken under somebody's wing. You've been guided and given an incredible amount of quality learning and development. I was chatting to a couple of corporates recently, so I'm just jumping through my slides. I seem to have lost my presentation earlier. I was chatting to a couple of corporates, and they were going on about what a brilliant internship program they've got. But it wasn't very constructive. The developmental work was not very good. The guys were not getting very good training out of it. And after 4 months, it's considered the internship. And I don't think 4 months is enough to really get a lot of experience. So we make a point of keeping it at least at 12 months. And in that term, at 12 months looks great if you've got 12-month experience on your CV. It really is a fantastic opportunity. So it really does work well for both interns and for practices. I'm just having a look at questions in the chat. My apologies, I haven't had a look at that yet.
I think you've answered Mbu's question. I'm not sure if how long it is. So we said it's a 12-month internship. We've answered that question. Then Mhlolo says,
I've just seen that. He was in a small business.
Yeah.
The concern, Mhlolo, is that you're doing a full-time job. If a practice is comfortable with you carrying on with, so let's call it, I'll put in inverted commas, a side hustle. You've got your own business going. We understand the need and the requirement to keep on developing your income. But some practices will not be comfortable with you having another business on the side because they're paying you a lot of money to do your job. I have come across others where it's been okay, but if you just had part-time jobs, then it's not a problem. So, but if you apply, we're able to have a look at your application and put it out there and see if guys.
Yeah,
one thing it does bring, David, sorry if I just interrupt. One thing it does bring is it shows that you're entrepreneurial, which is good, and it shows that you've got a really good insight in terms of developing a business. And I think practices, in my opinion, would like to see that the maturity.
Yeah, correct. And I mean, as you basically alluded to, I think the key Mhlolo is always just disclosing exactly, what your expectations are versus what theirs is, and then usually you can find a good middle ground to see what works for both of you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have had somebody, for example, who gets quite involved in the past with community work. It's not a job, but does keep them busy, and they've actually taken it in partnership with their practice. And through that, practice also entrepreneurial. They get quite a bit of exposure out there. And with that, in this particular intern's case, they were creating opportunities to actually develop a business. So the intern involved with that started doing financial awareness, let's call it financial awareness, financial education, and ended up being able to pick up little bits of business here and there for themselves in the practice. So everybody won, which I thought was pretty useful. I'm just having a look at other questions. I haven't seen anything else come up. Thanks for that confirmation, Dalton. We would encourage you guys to apply. And just a matter of interest, if you're applying, when you apply and we ask which city you want to be in, please make sure that you're available for interviews, because we've had a number of candidates, for example, sitting in Nelspruit who want to work in Cape Town, but they're not available for interviews. And it's difficult to be interviewed and get to the next phase of being taken on if they like you. And the program is not going to pay for resettlement costs. Sponsors have said that that's a private initiative, that's a private requirement. If you want to move to a different city, it's your prerogative, but you'll need to be available for the interviews at the company in terms of the take-on process. So just a thought as well. I know that if I was in your shoes, I'd apply for every place I could, but if in the city we're not based, it's going to be, I think, self-regulating as such.
And Russell, just for interest's sake, at the moment, the current internships are predominantly available in which cities again? I think you mentioned it earlier.
So we've got them running in Cape Town, and the greater outlying areas of Cape Town as well. So it could be Stellenbosch, Paarl, Wellington, obviously Durbanville's part of Cape Town. We've got the West Coast as well. I'm busy talking to George. We're currently running it in PE and East London, Bloemfontein, Pretoria and Johannesburg. We've got a couple of interns that work for practice in Pretoria, but the actual office is in Nelspruit as well. But the company is responsible for transport and accommodation. So it's wherever the practices are in the major cities at the moment. We have had some interest from Kimberley as well. And unfortunately, that particular practice that applied was part of a corporate space. They're part of PSG, and that unfortunately disqualified them as for an IFA because you've got to be independent, as mentioned. But there are other practices who are interested. So if there is a practice coming on board and they're being approved and there are local interns available, then it will happen in that city.
Yeah, I think what's also worthwhile mentioning, Russell, while we're on that tack, is when you and I've chatted in the past about these internships, I think the key which you're keen on is also just getting as many applications in as possible, because often sometimes things come up in different cities and or additional practices come on the current cities where there is opportunities. And I know that you always rather keener to actually have applications than not, so you have options.
Absolutely. One of the nice things as well that we've spoken about briefly before, David, is that this particular internship is just one of the programs that happen out there. Because we work in the industry, we have an industry body. We have a large number of corporate companies who next year will be looking for staff as well, and they do ask us if we have any names. So if you haven't been selected for this particular internship, we do ask you early next year if it's okay with you to share your information with the corporate companies, because in terms of Poppy, we can't just put it out there. We ask for your permission, and then you'll be considered for work at the bigger organizations, but those are corporates. So there would, for example, be a company like Sanlam or Mutual, Coro, M&G or PPS, whatever. That's in the case of Cape Town, up in Johannesburg, Liberty, or even the banking programs, banking companies, or something like Momentum as well. So this isn't the last resort, but we will contact you early next year if you haven't been selected for this year's program. So it's quite useful, just getting on the list.
Yeah, 100%. And then Russell, I see there was another question which came in separately, which was from Prudence, around can one apply with the high certificates in banking and RE5, for instance, if one has a high certificate. I think you and I have also discussed, and you've said you're definitely open for all qualifications that one has to apply.
Very much so.
And it'll depend on the employer, what they're looking for.
Yes. So the ideal from the program is anybody who's done some tertiary education or some post-matric course. We have had situations where somebody's applied at a company and they've just had matric, but they were planning on doing an online degree. In fact, they may actually have been doing it through Milpark, I'm not sure. And they were taken on by the practice. There was just a good synergy between the matriculant in those days and the company's owner. And that was quite a few years ago, and they have managed to be conferred a degree. And but we ideally want to take somebody who's done some course after matric. So anything after matric could be, in fact, even if just matric can be considered for the course, for the program. One of the major advantages of doing a course after matric, it just shows that your commitment and you're able to achieve something. And practices like to see that. Any possible employee, we're keen to see that sort of commitment.
100%. So Russell, it seems like there are no other questions at the moment.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see anything. I've managed to see the little numbers. Are there any questions you may have for someone who's currently doing the internship, Jamie Lee, in mind, that you may have for somebody doing this at the moment? You're welcome to ask questions in that space as well. I think she'll be quite keen to share her knowledge and experience. Something of interest, just to come back to the RE5. RE5 is particularly useful, and you can use it in any financial industry. So if, for example, you get offered an opportunity to go and work, as an example, at a call center, at an insurance call center, as an example, you've got to get your RE5 to be able to be employable. So it's a really great opportunity just to at least get your RE5 as something to use. But the 12 months will stand you in good stead. But the RE5 is particularly powerful in the market. Jamie Lee, have you done your RE5 yet? Sorry to put you on the spot. Not yet.
Not
okay.
writing our RE5 now.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with that. Sharon, I see your question. Unfortunately, this particular program is only for folks who have not been employed before, because there's a tax incentive put up by government to take on someone who hasn't worked before. But I'd like to suggest that you perhaps apply on the form, on the application form, because I've been approached by a few practices who are also dealing with short-term and medical aids, as an example, who are looking for staff, and they're quite keen to take on someone with a bit of experience. But that's outside of this particular program's gambit. But if you apply, I'll be able to get back to you.
So I see there's no additional questions. I think a question which I will have open to Precious. So from my side is, look, if with you obviously went through your initial program, obviously in the heart of COVID, so it obviously was a little bit like less, a little bit more abnormal from that point of view. However, I think just maybe give a few like advantages to the opportunity of being able to work in a practice where you're able to see like a lot more of not just one area within a practice, but through an internship being able to see like different areas. I don't know if you also felt that was an advantage.
Sorry, could you just repeat your question for me?
Sure. So usually what people find is when they're in a smaller practice, when they're in a practice where they can kind of see a lot more, just not one specific area within the practice. The advantages of that, I mean, I hear that obviously Jamie Lee is working across, through an internship here, she could potentially be working in different areas. Just speak to the advantages of that and how it helps one, even if one's just there for the internship here.
Perfect. I think it's great if you the nice thing about any IFA internship program is that it's there to build you and to see your strengths and weaknesses and to see where you will feel comfortable as an individual and where you'll thrive. So what I found with our company specifically is that it takes you through a lot of different sectors of the industry. One thing about our directors, they will push you left and right, and you'll be like, whew. But then by the end of the internship, you'll be able to see your strong points, and then you can actually sit down and say, hey, this is where I want to focus on. And it's easy for you to be able to grasp that concept if you've been given different things on the plate. Because if you've only had one sort of center, you're not going to be able to see exactly what else is out there for you. So I think what's nice about the industry as a whole is that there's different sectors. I mean, I went from being just someone who did admin. Next thing, I was a paraplanner. From paraplanning, I was the only one who was doing quotes and making sure that they are sent to the clients. And then it turned out to the fact that they saw I loved humans, so they were like, hey, we can make you a manager. So there's so many things you can play around with if you're just open to learning, And I think I've got mentors who are in other companies one of my mentors is the head of credit of Standard and the head of retail at Allen Gray. So there's so much opportunity with the sponsors of the program to also just draw from them because you're going to grow. And if one day I decide to move into a bigger environment, I've got that loop of this internship gave me an opportunity to know other people in the industry. So there's so much room for growth. There's two interns who left us. One is now at PSG, and the other is at Sanlam, and she's doing a CFA. Actually, through Milpark. She went through her postgrad with Milpark, so that's a good thing. But yeah, it's just to show that with this program, there's so much room for growth for any individual. There's potential for you to do anything and everything. Yeah.
That is exactly the kind of answer I was looking for. So that's great. Thanks, Precious. You gave us an all-round kind of journey that the student could potentially, if they take opportunities, they could follow. So that's great. Russell, I see we are getting. Yes, yeah.
Just add very quickly. Every practice who participates in this program is required to give us some feedback every month of what's being done. We have minimum requirements of what has to be done from an internship perspective. We don't want companies just to plant an intern in one department and do a single facet of work. They have to have some sort of rotational role and get different type of experience, which is particularly important. And through that, and Precious, thanks for putting it the way you did, through that you can find your strengths are. And the companies that own, and business owners who own the companies, they built their business. They've got enough insights and organizational skill to be able to use and develop interns that participate in the program.
Yeah, that's I think a great way for us to end.
Sorry, David. Firstly, I just wanted to add one more thing. At the moment, I currently sit on the chair of being the host. So I am actually responsible for picking the intern for our company now. So you see how the table can quickly change from you being an intern to actually being the one who picks the intern. So it's quite an interesting dynamic. It's always a full circle moment for me, just to actually show people that so much growth can happen for you in the space of 5 years, and you can be able to do anything and everything. So if anyone is applying in Cape Town this year, I'm literally number 1 on the line. I sent that application in the first 10 minutes. So I'm going to be looking at Milpark applicants and making sure that, I want to see clean applications there.
Perfect. That's perfect. Thank you, Precious. And it's a great way to end. I think unfortunately I can't see your face, Russell. I don't know if you have anything you want to add before I close off.
I don't have anything to add. I don't know what's happened with the camera. My little green light is on, showing that it's working. I don't know what's going on, but I'd like to thank you so much for the opportunity, David, for organizing this, and for Milpark for facilitating. And a special thanks to Jamie, Lee, and Precious. This is the first time we've invited interns to be involved in this delivery of the program. And thank you. Your insights and your opinions are welcomed and appreciated. Thank you so much. And David, thanks again. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, that is great. Thank you so very much, Russell. And just to everyone who's joined us today, firstly, I just want to say thanks so much to those of you who have joined us, and thank you again to Russell and Jamie and Precious, and just for making the time available to speak to some of our students and graduates just around the opportunities that could be available through ASISA. Yes, we will also be posting this on our various social media channels. So if you have missed parts of it, you should be able to pick it up in the next few days. Thanks again, everyone, for the session today, and thank you to everyone who's joined us. And we hope to see you again soon.
Thanks again, David, and thanks everybody for joining. And please.